Transitioning from one host agency to another can have a lot of complications. It can also bring with it a lot of fear, a lot of myths and misunderstandings. And that's what we're going to be covering in today's episode.
This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast. And here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
So before we go any further, I just want to say whether you're already in the process of wanting to transition, or maybe you're thinking, there's no way I'm going to be switching host agencies, or perhaps you're brand new and you haven't even chose your host agency. I want you to listen to today's episode because there's going to be information for everybody involved that's going to benefit your business as we go. So transitioning can in a lot of ways be the same as starting brand new. And the reason is because when you're choosing that host agency, there's a lot of pressure that gets put onto that. There's a lot of, am I making the right choice? Is this the right step? What do I do? What I really want to accomplish in this episode is making sure that you don't fear the idea of switching host agencies, and that you have a clear understanding of all of the prep work that goes into it at the beginning or at any time in the process, so that you always, always are at the host agency you want to be at by choice, not by default, not by fear, not by, oh, it's just too much work, but by choice. See, your host agency, you are their client. It is their responsibility to ensure that they're providing you with the customer service, with the resources, with the community, or whatever it is that you are looking for in your host agency, and it's their responsibility to provide that. See, most advisors are paying a monthly fee of some form. Some are paying an annual fee, some are paying a bigger commission split, whatever it is. But that is all as part of the transaction. You are their customer. Just like your travelers are your customer, the host agency, you're theirs. And it's really important to remember that you are actually the one in the driver's seat and not the host agency. So I've made some notes and let's go through them. So again, I just want to remind you, the pre-prep is as important as the actual decisions. And that's going to start today. So whether you are with a host agency and you're like, there is no way I'm ever leaving them, I still want you to really consider this because it's really important for you to be aware of what can happen. Now, I also want to preface this. This is for independent advisors, not employees. If you're working in a storefront, you're not entirely independent. And so therefore, some of what I'm about to say may not apply to you in the same way. And at the same time, if you are being compensated or being treated as an independent travel advisor, but yet you're working in a storefront, just also proceed with caution on that one as well. So client communications, they always need to run through your email, not the email that they provide for you. See, back in the day when I owned a franchise, I had a physical location, franchise, brick and mortar, and they owned my email. And I thought, what's the big deal? Heck, I ran way too much of my own personal stuff because I'm like, I'm the owner. I'm not going anywhere. It's never going to happen. Then came the day that I was like, something's off about this company. Something's off about the relationship. It's not the way that it used to appear to me. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that company. What I'm saying is the way that I perceived my relationship with them had deteriorated and was no longer the relationship that I thought it once was. I was with them for a lot of years. And the best tidbit that I got from somebody else before they left or after they had left the franchise is they said they're going to shut off your emails at 3 p.m. Alberta time because they're based in the East and they shut it off at 5 p.m. Eastern. They said, we were not prepared for that. In fact, they had not properly prepared their emails at all. And so I had known for about a year that I wasn't happy and that something was going to change. So I had an entire year to start moving clients over onto a different email address. Yes, that means you need to buy a domain. Now, before you get too far into the weeds of, well, I don't know what company, I don't know this. If nothing else, Buy your name. If your name is available, lock it down. Buy your first and last name or something, some iteration thereof, something that you are going to keep no matter whether you're in travel, in another industry, maybe you've gone to real estate, maybe you're going into, I don't know, being a chef, something of that nature, whatever it is, something like your name, you're going to keep with you no matter where you go. The number one reason why you want to have that email be separate for your client communications is that in the event that you decide that you're going to leave, or, the reality is if your company has a branded name and they get bought out by somebody or they go through some sort of transition, there's a good possibility that the name could change. Friends of mine were part of I don't know if it was, they weren't franchised, but they were networked. To be honest with you, I don't even know how it all worked. But she was telling me, I can't even remember the number. She's probably going to listen to this. She'll be like, it was this number. But I want to say it was like 6, maybe 7 name changes in the course of their brick and mortar store, where they had to buy new signage. They had to get new email addresses. They had to do all of these things because the company was sold from this company to that company, from that company to that company. And all of those things can happen. The same can happen with your host agency. Larger host agencies are buying up smaller host agencies. They're amalgamating, they're incorporating, they're doing all of these things. And so if you're relying on solely the name of the agency to be the only way people communicate with you, it doesn't mean that that email is still going to exist however long down the road. This is your business. Make sure that you always have a way to communicate with your clients. A Gmail, it's not great. It's better than nothing. Like glenda@gmail.com. It's not my favorite. At the very least, I would do something like travel@glenda.com rather than glenda@gmail.com. And the reason being is there's just a different perception to your clients, particularly if you want to get out of the ultra budget. I'm sorry, when I see professionals that use Gmail accounts, like freebie Gmail accounts, my instant thought is, I'm not sending you anything. I feel like it's going to get hacked. Or are you real? Like, are you legit? Because anybody can get a Gmail account. I get it. Having a domain is $20 a year or something like that. It's $20 a year. Suck it up. Sorry, it's a little early in the morning. We're a little spicy, apparently. But it's also just a matter of have your domain. That way nobody else can take it over. And then get an email associated with that. It allows for the smoothest transition because when you decide to make a change, either you decide or somebody decides for you, you have continuity in the communications with your clients. You're going to have the ability for them to still know how to find you, irregardless of where you're at. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't still be within a lot of the other boundaries of what's going to happen with clients or with communication and other such. You've also got to double check. If you have sellers of travel, what do those rules say? What is all of that? But generally speaking, there is a way. Now, the one caution I'm going to say to that is that you really and truly have to have an emergency plan in place. Because when the emails are set up on the host agency servers, it means that they have the ability to access your emails should they choose. And so in the event something were to happen to you, or you get sick, or whatever the case may be, you need to have a system and process in place that somebody else is able to step in and care for your clients. That's going to be a really important piece of the puzzle. Let me just see here. Oh yeah. So in my notes, I just said, prefer your name and or business name as a domain. Yes, it costs money. However, it's less than trying to recapture the lost business later on. If you have a super well-established business and it's Glenda at such or abchostagency.com, and now you're going to go to XYZ host agency, anybody who has you saved in their contacts, that has a way to be able to reach you in their contacts for their emails, is still going to try and reach you at glenda@abchostagency.com. They're not going to know how to reach you at the other one. And it's either one, going to go into the host agency's information, or two, it's going to go into void and nobody's ever going to see it. The email is going to bounce back. They're going to be like, oh, I guess they're out of business. So this is your way to protect and retain your clients going forward. You are going to need an email for the supplier. This is where, if your host agency is providing you with an email, this is a phenomenal place to use that. Because if you are with host agency ABC and you want to go to XYZ, the suppliers sometimes will say, it's okay, we can do the shuffle, but 99.99% of the time, they're going to need a different email address in order to keep things clear and separate. Because a lot of times your email address is your logon. A lot of times your email address is connected to your account and just different things like that. So to keep things crystal clear and to make sure that you don't have issues, be sure that they get separated in between and that you just simply use a different email address. Yes, and that will change if you switch agencies. Before you change or choose a host, this one's really important. And this one, whether it is changing from an existing or choosing for the first time, you need to know what it is that you're looking for. This is a clear definition, not generic terms like community or mentorship. We're actually going to do another episode in the next week or two here about content like mentorship and other such, because it's really important that we break down and get crystal clear on what do those terms mean. Because community can mean something different to absolutely everybody. So don't just use bucket terms. Actually break down what does each of those terms mean to you. Then if you're looking to change, these are the things I need you to do. Why? Why are you looking to change host agencies? Because if you can't directly name it, you're doomed to repeat it. And I get it. Maybe you got headhunted. Maybe somebody waved something really fun in front of your face. Get really crystal clear on these questions. Why do you want to change? I want you to write the pro-con list of your current host agency. And I promise you, there are pros in the current host agency that you're at. You've got to be honest with yourself. There is pros in there. And the reason why you need to look for the pros as well as the cons is because you have to look at what it is you do like about it, because if there's something in there that you like, you want to make sure you're replicating that piece and not looking exclusively at the cons and saying, oh, I need to fix this, because these are garbage. Well, guess what? You might fix this, and this, and they'll now be wrapped in a beautiful gold bow. But you then sacrifice the things that were working, the things that you did like. It's that comment of the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Or is it? So we need to make sure that we're looking at the pros and the cons. Know why you're leaving, because if you don't have those pros and cons, if you don't know the why, you are doomed to repeat it. I want you to talk to more than one. Even if you've been headhunted, actually, especially if you've been headhunted by somebody, you absolutely need to talk to more than one host agency. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The person you're talking to at the host agency, they're in sales. Like, this is their whole job, to sell you on joining them. And some people in sales don't work with as much integrity as others. Or I should also say, some people will also highlight the shiniest of the objects and maybe shove a few things under the carpet. So you want to make sure that you are having a conversation with them, and then having a conversation with somebody else. Because again, when you hear something that's like, oh my goodness, I would never get that anywhere else, I want you to have conversations with some others and just see if that's actually true, or if you were just captured up in the moment of excitement and other such. As important as it is to know why you're leaving and what the pros and cons are, you also need to know what are your deal breakers. You are in business. What are your business deal breakers? Is it a part of your value structure? Integrity is a pretty high one on mine. Is it knowing when they're going to pay? Is it what their contracts look like? What is the deal breaker? Is it the fact that maybe this company is like, nope, sorry, we own your client list? Well, that's a deal breaker and a half for me. And that's not going to happen. Uh, this one was interesting. I wrote it out here. Loyalty is beautiful, especially when it comes to your social life. In business, it is also good. However, you need to put yourself, your business, and your clients first. Don't stay just for loyalty. I can't tell you how many travel advisors tell me, oh, but I'm loyal to this company. Like I have so much loyalty to them. I want you to remove the word loyalty and change it to guilt and see if that gives you the same emotion. Because when I've coached one-on-one with my clients about whether or not they should stay with the host agency they're at or what they should be looking at and other such, they will always tell me, but they've been so loyal to me. I have to stay loyal to them. So then we start to break it down and we go step by step by step. And in reality, what they perceived as loyalty was just a system and a process. And from the company and what they perceive as loyalty to the company was actually guilt. Because if some companies catch wind that you're thinking of leaving, they start to lay on the guilt. We've invested so much in you. Where would you get this? Nobody's going to care for you like we do. You're more than just a number with us. See, all of that is intended to make you feel guilty about the decisions you need to make. You need to do what is right for you, what is best for you and your business. And while, yes, there is always going to be a moment of, oh, but I'm leaving somebody behind, I'm changing something. I want you also to know that those companies could sell at any time. And they're not necessarily thinking about you, not you as an individual. Yes, they might be thinking about the 50 or the 100 or the 500 or 5,000 advisors that have built up their team. And they might say, I really want you to do this, but at the same time, you make that check big enough, I'll just let it all go. You're in business. This is not your social life. That might be a harder pill to swallow. It's not actually your social life. Yes, you are going to make amazing colleagues, amazing connections, amazing just opportunities and friends and everything else. But you can't run a business on social life decisions. You have to run a business on business decisions. And before you leave, read your contract, know your rights, know the dates, know how long you have to give notice. Are you able to actually run under a second host agency at the same time? Because in an ideal world, that's actually what will happen. Now, again, I am talking to those that are independent. I had an advisor once that worked for me in my office, and she was working for me. That was great. I was helping her. I was coaching her and other such. But at the same time, I noticed all of the files that I was helping coach her on never came to fruition, especially shortly before she left. And then she came in and she gave me her notice. And I was stunned, quite frankly. And then I decided, you know what? I'm just going to pay you out your 2 weeks. We're going to go ahead. We're going to let you go because there really wasn't much point, because at that point I was doing a lot of training and she hadn't yet converted anything. And so I said, okay, just go ahead and leave everything and I'll just pay you out. That'll be that. That was great. I hadn't got a chance to get to her desk to go through her files yet. And then that night she sent me a text and she said, I have to confess, I actually signed with a host agency and I'm going to become a travel advisor myself. Thank you so much for helping me get my first clients going. I was so effing stunned. I can't tell you what that text said. It was at the end of a crazy busy day. And here I had been paying her to learn from me. And the files that I had been helping her on, she had actually been booking with a host agency. Now, technically, I could have sued. I chose not to because it just simply wasn't worth it, in my opinion. But that was solely my opinion. Um, but if you are working in somebody's office, please know that the advice I've just given may not entirely apply to you. I will always encourage you to work for integrity. If you have questions, go ahead, hit me up on Instagram, send me a DM, Art of Selling Travel. That's where you're going to find me. Or come on over to our Facebook group. We've got things going on in there. But I wanted to give you this as a starting point. If you're thinking of leaving your host agency, the moment that thought has entered into your sphere, whether you choose to then or not, is the time that you already know you need to make sure that you are prepared, that you have that independent email address so that you can continue the continuity of client communications. The moment it enters your mind, pick up your contract and read it. Front, back, don't skip anything in the middle. Read it all because you need to know what are your rules, what are your rights, what are your obligations, and make sure that you follow those to the letter. There are some host agencies that will withhold commission in the event that you leave. So you need to know that as well. Like I said, depending where you are, some countries, some states, some regions, other such will allow you to be under more than one host agency, which I think is phenomenal because it allows you to be able to start making the transition without having to sacrifice your current ones. Other ones, just based on the nature of your contract, do not allow for that. So you need to know what that looks like. Again, if you have more questions, go ahead, hit me up in Instagram. We're going to keep this series going. I've got at least one more, possibly two more episodes yet to come. It all depends on the questions that are coming in. I look forward to being able to help you out with that. And if you like this episode or any of our other episodes, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review on your podcast app. If it's not a 5-star review, please send me a message and let me know what you would like to hear differently or what we can do to make this a 5-star review for you. Until next time, happy selling.